Everyone, welcome back to my channel, or if you are new, welcome. My name is Mandy, and I find the older I get, the harder it is for me to find a concealer that works for my under eyes. I am just a few weeks shy of turning 45, and my under eyes are showing it, at least at a faster rate than the rest of my face because the skin is thinner, shows fine lines and wrinkles faster. I do get Botox twice a year. It has been 6 months as of right now since I've had Botox. You can see I do have quite a bit of, crinkling, normal smile lines, but that adds to the decisions on what concealers look good under my eyes. So what I did for this video is I picked my favorite 7 concealers currently. And when I say currently, I mean between now and maybe 12 to 18 months ago. The 7 concealers that I reach for the most, that I feel like look the best, and I put them to a wear test of 8 hours each day. And at the end of that 8 hours, I sat in front of a window with natural light only, and I took a picture, then zoomed in very close, and I took how my under eye looked at the end of the day and used that to base the best ones out of the group for me. Clearly, makeup is subjective. What works for me may not work for you, and vice versa. But I do feel like it's important to find the correct formula the older we get. Now, 2 constants that I want to mention every day when I tested these concealers: my Dermatology Luminous Under Eye Corrector, I use the shade medium, and my Laura Mercier Under Eye Setting Powder, Brightening Under Eye Powder. This is in the shade Soft Pink. So those are the 2 things that stayed the same every day. And I will put up the close-up picture as I talk about these concealers. So I'm not gonna go in any particular order, but I will try and say my top 2 at the end. This one I'm gonna start with, I don't talk about as much. If you look at my drop down description box and see what I'm wearing in every video, because I do try to post it, this will show up occasionally. I use it a lot when I'm not filming. I use it some when I am filming, but I don't talk about it as much as some of the other ones. And it is the Surratt Dewdrop Concealer. This has the same amount as another concealer I'm gonna talk about, but those are the 2 least amount of products that I'm gonna talk about out of all 7. I have the shades number 4 and number 5. They come with a sponge tip applicator. So you just kind of twist it up a little bit. I just put a 2 to 3 dots under each eye and then blend out. So this is number 4 and this is number 5. It's quite a bit different as far as the shades. This is way lighter, number 4, than number 5, and that's why I got 2, because I ended up with number 4 to begin with, and it was just a little too light because I don't prefer a very bright under eye. This is one of the top contenders of how well it looked at the end of the day. It just doesn't budge. And as far as formula goes, it is one of the lightest weight formulas out of all the ones that I'm gonna talk about. And while the sponge applicator is never my favorite for foundation or concealer because I don't use that to blend it out, I do like how it is a little more controlled in how much I apply. So I can just dot, 3 dots under my eyes, and I know I'm pretty much getting the same amount every single time, versus swiping it on with a doe foot. And it's just a very forgiving formula. Honestly, I'm probably not gonna go too far into what I think of each concealer other than how I felt it wore, because they are all along the same lines. That's what got them into my 7 that I wanted to test initially, is because on me, they're forgiving. They wear well. Some work a little bit better for dry under eyes versus not. Luckily, I have not been dealing with a lot of dryness under my eyes. But as far as making your eyes look dry, the Surratt definitely doesn't. I would say it's in the family of more hydrating concealers. Keeping on the train of super hydrating concealers, and here's a little thing with me. I am so picky that I want very hydrating, but I do not want it to be luminous. And I have tried very many concealers in the past that are luminous when I apply them, like this next one that I'm gonna talk about. But once I powder it down, because I always use a powder, it's still very luminous. That is what I don't want. And the MAC Studio Radiance Concealer 24-Hour Luminous Lift Concealer is one of the ones that does not stay luminous once I powder it. But out of all the ones I'm gonna talk about, it is probably the most luminous looking on first application. I have 2 shades. I have a couple in my kit as well, but these 2 shades I use personally the most. This comes with twice as much product as the Surratt, and definitely at a more affordable price point. These two shades are very different as well. So I have NW11 and then NW15. This particular concealer is one I definitely recommend going in store if you are able, if you have a MAC counter or if your Ulta sells MAC, to swatch, because the shades of this are very wacky in my opinion. Like what I would consider something that would definitely work for me based on other MAC shades that I have used in the past don't work on me. So it's one that I do feel like you need to look into. But if you like a luminous under eye and you don't want to powder, this is a great option. This is one that ever since I tried it, I was just blown away by how not only hydrating it leaves my under eye, but also how it wears. Again, very flattering. It's just the shade range, not the best, but at the end of the day, it still looks decent on the under eye. Another one that I've talked about quite a bit since I have tried it is the G Beauty Brightening Concealer. This is another one that's basically the same amount as this. This is 0.14 ounces. This is 0.15 ounces, but this is more affordable than the Surratt. I also have two shades in this one. If you can tell, this is kind of a theme for concealers that I like. And this one is the one that my 16-year-old likes the best. So she ends up using this at my vanity almost every single day. But I have the shade number 3, and then I bought number 3, and then they sent me number 5. So this has a doe foot, kind of like just a normal concealer. This is number 5, and this is number 3. Number 5 is much peachier, so it does serve kind of as a corrector and concealer in one. In fact, I have used it without a corrector many a times. Number 3 is what I used for the purpose of the testing and check-in. This is a little bit of a thicker concealer and not one that I would call as hydrating, but I also don't feel like it dries out my under eyes. It's, I would say, medium coverage. The first two I talked about were more light to medium coverage. This one's a solid medium. I wouldn't consider it full, but I don't look for full because I find the fuller the coverage, the worse the wear, with the exception of one that I'll talk about next. So definitely a very solid product and did wear nicely for me during the 8 hours on the check-in testing day. Again, just not as hydrating as a formula as some of the others. The next one I tested was the Estee Lauder Double Wear Stay in Place Concealer. This is the new formula. I am in the shade 3C. It comes with a doe foot and you need a very small amount of this. I really like this shade. It is very neutral in my opinion. I tend to gravitate towards the neutral or cool leaning concealers. When they have descriptions on the site, I will rarely ever go for one that says warm or golden undertone. I like it to have pink or peachy undertones or straight neutral, and this is straight neutral. I mean, it's blending into my hand. And this is the one that I would say out of all the ones I'm gonna talk about is probably the highest coverage, and probably can't see it over the camera, but when I swatch this, it's already halfway dried down. So even though I most definitely prefer to powder my concealer personally, I do think this is a formula that you would not have to powder if you did not want to, because it is somewhat of a self-setting formula. And it's almost half of an ounce. It is 0.4 ounces, which is very large compared to most concealers. So you're definitely getting your money's worth with this. I have used this as an actual foundation and it worked great too. If you don't have a need to use foundation, or if you like to get a lot of your coverage from maybe a tinted SPF, this is a good one to add coverage where you need it without adding a ton of heavy product and still get a good end result. And for the amount of product you get, you probably wouldn't feel as bad using more because you get so much more to begin with. 3 more. Everybody knows, if you've watched one video of mine, that the Chantecaille Future Skin Gel Foundation is gonna make it into this video. No, this is not a concealer. Yes, it is a foundation. 2 years ago, I was doing a full face of Chantecaille. I decided to use this as my concealer, and I instantly fell in love because of how forgiving this is on my under eyes. Clearly, you're getting a lot more product because it is a foundation, so you're getting a full ounce, which is upwards of twice, if not 3 times, or even 4 times the amount you're getting in some of the other concealers that I've talked about. I use the shade Vanilla in this. I can use vanilla as a foundation as well. So if I am traveling, it is very easy for me to stick this in my bag and have it cover 2 bases in my routine. This is not full coverage. It's really not even medium. It is a light coverage. I do tend to wear it with the corrector underneath at all times, but the gel formulation in this is so super hydrating without being overly luminous. And the wear is just fantastic. It's what I have on my under eyes today. I have finished a whole entire one of these, 75 to 80% of it used for concealer. That is how much I use it. Quite honestly, I just highly encourage y'all to take your favorite foundation and use it as a concealer. I think you will be very surprised as how much you like it, and you are cutting out a product that you need in your routine. That was the beginning of what I would call my luxury concealers. The next 2 are definitely luxury as well. This is the Chanel Sublimage Corrector U. So I've talked about the Sublimage Essence Detente foundation, which is one of my favorite foundations of all time. And I have used the large version of this that comes as a foundation, the Sublimage foundation that comes in the pot. I didn't love it then. It was years ago. I haven't tried it since. But this is sadly, and I say sadly because it is a more expensive product, a phenomenal concealer. Another one that you could use to spot conceal your face and use it kind of as a lightweight foundation. This is a more medium coverage and it is not as luminous. It's a little bit heavier and thicker, and you need the very, very, very tiniest amount. I am in the shade 30. And when I say tiny amount, I say you're gonna hate this product if you use too much. Like, it really needs just a very small amount of product to get lots of coverage and phenomenal wear. This one wears so well. They are coming out, I think they already have maybe in Europe, but in the US, they're coming out with a new version of their doe foot concealer. And I do like that concealer, the old version that I have, but I don't like it as much as this. So I'm very eager to see if I'm gonna like the new doe foot concealer as much as I like that one. But right now, that's the best Chanel concealer I have tried to date. And then finally, my 7th concealer that I tried, and then I'll get into what I thought of everything and what made the cut as the best, is the Sisley Phyto-Cernes Eclat concealer. This is a massive concealer. It comes in at 0.6 ounces. So the Estee Lauder was 0.4 ounces, and the Chanel, I did not say, it is 0.35 ounces. So this is the most amount of product in any of the concealers I've talked about, unless I'm talking about the Chantecaille, which is technically a foundation. And when I say that I have had this for so long and it is still going strong and I use it so much, you need the tiniest amount. It is a very expensive product. But when I tell you that this is one that absolutely does not require a corrector for me, I am in the shade number 2. When I say that this is one of the best wearing concealers you will ever put on your under eyes, I'm not kidding. And I know there's a lot of people who agree with me, not only comments from my channel, but comments I've read on other channels that have talked about this concealer. It is phenomenal. It is not thin, it is thick. You need a very small amount. I like to warm it up in between my fingers and just pat it under my eyes, then blend out with a brush. It's so good. As an actual concealer, not including the Chantecaille, that's a foundation, I am gonna go ahead and say this is the best one, hands down. So I'll go ahead and start talking about what made the cut. You can hopefully see in this very cropped close-up of my under eye that this wore phenomenally. I'm talking no creasing, no cracking. I make a lot of, expressions that give me what I call fish gills, vertical little lines, especially right in the inside of my eye. Nothing negative happens when I wear this concealer. It deserves all the praise it gets. It is one I don't want to be without in my collection, but honestly, this is going to last me another year and it's still going to be good. It's still going to wear fabulous. But whenever I finish this, I will most definitely repurchase. And I am going to go ahead and say that out of the remaining ones, the ones that wore the best on me for the purposes of this video and the testing days are the Surratt, the Chanel, the Sisley, and the Chantecaille. Those are just the top 4s of how they looked at the end of the day. Coming in at a solid 5th place is my MAC. And the ones that didn't look as good because the vertical lines did show up a little bit are the G Beauty and the Estee Lauder. Am I gonna stop wearing these? Absolutely not. Do I dislike them now? Absolutely not. Just out of all the ones that I tried for this video, they did get the bottom 2 spots. If I had to pick the top 2, hands down the Sisley and hands down the Chantecaille. If I had to pick the absolute best wear, Comparing every single picture that I took, no contest, the Sisley. And I know everybody thinks I'm gonna say the Chantecaille. It looks great, it wears great, I love it, I love the way it feels. I'm wearing it today. But comparing all the pictures side by side, this one most definitely looks the best. So hopefully y'all enjoyed this kind of new way that I went about doing my favorite concealers for the moment. I really think it's not only important of how they feel and how they look when you first apply them, but how they look at the end of the day, because we're not wearing our makeup for 2 hours. Most of us aren't anyways. So hopefully the pictures that I included were helpful. I will have all of the concealers I mentioned listed and linked down below. Thank y'all so much for watching. I will see you in my next video, and I hope you all go out and have a very blessed day.